Hi everyone, thank you for joining me for this new video around my campaign Operation Dark Winter. Today's video will be the mission briefing for mission number 6, and actually before we'll dive into the mission selection and the selection of the model that will go on mission, now since in last video we introduced the base building mechanic, let's have a look actually at our base and see what we want to build next. Actually, also, since I didn't started using these rules since the beginning of the campaign, I've just picked some random resources and attributed some random civilians. So basically what I did is that I assumed to have been in contact with 6 items that can be looted in all the missions that I did in the past. So I did 5 missions. 6 items, 6 potential loot in all of those missions for a total of 30 loot. So what I did is I simply took this table here and I did 30 roll of a black dice and a white dice, and I refer to that table to get my starting resources basically. And here is what I gain. So I gain 4 food, 2 fuel, 2 ammo, 4 building material, 2 medicine, 3 intel, and 13 nothing. It was nothing on those 13. So that's my starting resources for now on. And now in the future I will need to actually loot in the world when I will be deployed in missions. So right now, as you can see here, we have unlocked only the medical wing at the bottom over here. The 2 wings over here are still locked. And actually, what I really want to do is to unlock the technical wing over here by doing the Prospect Height mission, because it will allow me to build a kitchen. And this is really the most important thing right now, because I don't have a lot of food at the moment. Also, I've looked at the different video I've created, and I've been in contact with around 4 civilians with some of my model, and I did some command tests for 4 civilians, and 2 of them joined my base of operation. So I'm starting with the base of operation with 2 civilians that can be placed in some rooms, but right now, as you can see, I didn't have created any room for now. So yeah, what I'm going to do is to keep those resources for me for now, because I want to build the kitchen in next turn. Actually, first I will need to do the technical wing unlock. For that, I will need to do the Prospect Height mission. So let's have a look at our world map. As if you remember, my original goal was to do the Red Hook mission because it grants me access to 5 new GTF models and I want to have more forces available. But now what I need to do first is actually the Prospect Height mission over here. The goal of that mission is to disrupt an armed deal between 2 enemy factions. A group of cleaners is trying to sell some weapons to some rioters, and the deal ends at 2d6 turns. After that, each enemy group will move toward a different table or board edge, and both enemy group needs to be defeated for the mission to be a major victory. If one of the group escape the board, the mission is a minor victory. It will grant me the access to the technical wing, and after that I will be able to build the kitchen, and it will also grant me a sniper rifle and unlock a new cool rule that I will mention when I will get there. So this is the next mission we are going to do in the next turn, and now let's have a look at the forces available. Before that, actually, in the last mission, in the Cobble Hill mission, we gained 2 things at the end of that mission when we succeeded at disabling the broadcast signal. We first gained this new smoke grenade, and we also gained 1 new GTF member. To select that new GTF member, what I will do is use the table I will put on screen right now. I will basically roll a first dice to define if it's a civilian or a combatant character, then I will roll a second dice to define the kind of model it is. So let's first do a first roll to define the kind, if it's a combatant or not. So it will be a combatant character. Now let's roll a second time to define which characters. And it will be a 1, so this time we'll have a new police officer that will join our ranks. So let me show you the model available, and then we can select it for that for the rest of the campaign.
So here is all the police officer that I have available for the remainder of my campaign. So we have those two detectives over here from Crooked Dice. Then we have those 5 police officers, some of them running M16 and one of them on the right with a pistol. And we also have those one over here that are already painted. So let me divide that in 3 different groups. So I will roll a dice. 1, 2, 3, it will be in that group. 4 on the 1 and 2, that group. 3, 4, that group. 5, 6, that group. So let's roll a first dice. And it will be a 1 of these models. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a 6, I will simply re-roll. So let's roll that die. And it will be a 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and it will be that model. So it's a model from Crooked Dice with just a head swap from Anvil Industry. So I will need to paint that for the before the next mission, but this is one of the model I'm going to use. So here is our second team of model that we have available. So again, here we have Alani Kelso, the agent of the division, with her SIG 556. We have Jim Street, Shane Walsh, Francis Valenzuela, Alex Murphy, and Dan Espinosa. The new guy that we just found in the last mission that just joined our forces, I will probably leave him for the first group, since here we already have 6 models, and in the first group I have only 5 with 1 injured. So yeah, I will just keep that one for the other team. So here we have a new smoke grenade. I'm also going to keep that for the second group, since in this group we already have a stun grenade. So yeah, just to give some more tactical option, I will to the other group, I will keep that to team 1. So now here is the gear we have available for that mission. We again have John Grimes here that is injured and that won't be able to participate in that mission. I will leave the smoke grenade with him. Same for the comms. As long as I don't have a new team that can be called in reinforcement, I don't need that. So now what I want to give to someone is first the Uzi. The Uzi is a silence weapon, and this team doesn't have a lot of silence weapon. We have the AKM, and we have this pistol over here that is silence only for the first shot. So what I was thinking is first to equip the Uzi to Alani Kelso, which will basically allow her to fire with a suppress weapon. And I will keep the SIG 556 on her, so she can equip 2 primary and up to 1 secondary weapon. But equipping 2 primary weapon will reduce her agility stat by 2 points. So it's a trade-off. I still want to do that because I really need to have a silence weapon for that specific model. So here, those guys here already have a pretty good arsenal. What I want to do maybe is here, Dan Espinosa, I want him to have a better weapon. So here what we have available, we have the Scorpion and the G3. I don't like that much this weapon, so maybe I will keep them aside. I really like the M4, but since the guy I just unlocked over here has an M16, I'm going probably to give the M4 to him on the other mission, or actually I have the Mac pool for him. So yeah, let's actually take the M4 sub mode block 1, and I will give that to Dan Espinosa. So Dan Espinosa will be equipped with a silence pistol and that M4. Then next, what do we have over here? We have a pistol. I can equip a pistol as a secondary of, let's say, maybe Francis Valenzuela. I'm equipping secondary weapons because now with the new reload mechanic, at some point I may have no more ammo in one weapon, so at least I can switch to the secondary and still shoot in that turn instead of just need to reload. So here we have Shane Walsh that used to go on top of building with the M716, and I will keep the climbing kit to him, so he will be able to do the same kind of mission, like going in high ground. What I'm just going to do is maybe switch that M716 with the Springfield Armory the SOCOM 16. And also as a secondary weapon, what I can also give him is maybe actually the Scorpion or the J3. Yeah, let's actually give him... Yeah, just give him the Scorpion. So at least he have a pretty good secondary. And yeah, just trying to think if I need to equip more weapons. So here also I have some body armors, and I have those knee pads that will grant basically a +1 to defense. It's not exactly like that, but it's pretty similar. So what I want to do, let me check the gear Alani Quelso have equipped. So she only have one equipment, which is this hammer over here. And it's yellow, that means that she can also equip one green and one purple card. So what I will grant her is I will give her the heavy body armor with the hammer, so that works fine for Alani Kelso, so she have a bit of extra protection. Now what I will give also is our SWAT officer over here, Jim Street. I will give her the this body armor, but now he have two accessory, and right now actually he can't, but he can have two accessory if he's equipped with a backpack. So we'll give him the backpack that will allow him to have two accessories. So here we go with Jim Street, so we have that. And for the knee pad, who else is one of my favorite character? Shane Walsh have some pretty good stats, and I also really like Dan Espinosa. So yeah, I actually prefer Dan Espinosa. So I will just give the knee pad to Dan Espinosa, that will grant him a bonus point in defense. And yeah, I think that's it for the gear. So we start to have quite a lot of gear, and it starts to become fun. Now we can start to have some nice combination. Actually, before I stop this video, I forget two things. The first one is that when this new model has joined my forces, it came with one card. So we'll roll to define if it's a weapon or an equipment. On a 1, 2, 3, it will be a weapon, and on a 4, 5, 6, an equipment. So it's a 3, so it's a weapon. So let me draw one card from the standard weapon deck, and really cool. Oh yeah, I love that weapon. A Colt M4N1. And it's actually, yeah, pretty similar to what he's wielding. He's wielding an M16, so he will definitely be getting that weapon for the following mission, not the one just after that. And next, I'm going to just introduce you some of the new mechanic I'm going to use for the enemy placement. So I will try to be quick on that. So basically, for all the red region, I will create the same kind of deck I used to create. For red region, we will have 5 enemy level 1 card, 2 enemy level 2 card, 1 enemy level 3 card, 6 civilian and 6 empty card. I will shuffle those cards together, that will create me that deck. And when I will have line of sight on an enemy placement token, I will draw 1 card. If it's an enemy level 1 card, I will simply roll 1 die and refer to this table. Again, here for easy difficulty, I will use a d6. So for example, on the region I'm currently in, I'm fighting some rioters, and I will only be able to find these enemy over here. Later on in the campaign, I will fight some cleaners. For the cleaners, I will roll a dice, an 8-faced dice. Hard difficulty, it's the Rikers, it's a 10-faced dice. And the legendary difficulty, it's a 12-faced dice. And here we'll simply refer to that table. So for example, if I found an enemy level 1 card and I roll a 4, I will encounter 2 assaulters and 1 random, either a support or a thrower, and I will roll a second dice to define which one of the two it is. So yeah, it changed slightly how enemy will spawn, but not that much. It's just a different way to make enemy appear, and at least the deck here will be, it doesn't need to be different for every mission. I can keep the same deck for all the easy difficulty region and just change that deck when I will change the difficulty I'm playing in. And that's pretty much for that video. Thank you so much for joining me for that one, and I will see you for the next one for mission number 6, where we will try to stop this arm deal between the Rioter and the Cleaner faction. See you soon. Bye everyone.